August 13th, when 18, Northern Colorado. At 2 a.m., Chris Watts loaded his deceased pregnant wife and 2 young daughters into his work truck. It took him 50 minutes. He drove to an oil field where he worked, buried Shanann in a shallow grave. He dumped his 2 little girls in the oil tanks. Then he went to work. That morning, Shanann's friend Nicole called the police. She's 15 weeks pregnant. She wasn't feeling well, had a doctor's appointment at 9. I called. I texted. Her car's in the garage. Her shoes are by the door. She only has 1 vehicle. No answer on the phone. Husband's on his way. The garage door keypad didn't work. The only way in was with the remote opener. Chris made it so no one could get through the house while he was at work. Just in case he thought of extra cleanup that needed to be done. Officer Coonrod banged on windows, checked the back, nothing. Next door, neighbor Nate had a security camera. He hadn't checked it yet. Hey, Chris. Officer Coonrod, Police Department. Any idea where your wife is? Already the officer feels like Chris isn't taking the situation seriously. Chris said he was 5 minutes away. He'd been saying that for 45 minutes. It's likely he thought of something that needed cleaning up. He didn't want anyone inside before he could alter his crime scene. When Chris finally arrived, the officer was standing right there. Instead of sprinting to find his family, Chris went to the passenger side of his truck. His wife could be dying inside. Why didn't he just hit the garage button and run in? Then he went into Shanann's car, put something in or took something out. Whatever it was, he thinks it'll help cover his tracks. Chris was alone in the house for 1 minute and 15 seconds. It's safe to say he wasn't looking under the beds for his family. Nicole arrived. The officer let them search. Then they found Shanann's phone, in the house, between the couch cushions. Nicole's hand flinched when she touched it, as if it burned her. Touching that phone made the danger very real. People don't just shut down their phones in their own home. The officer started asking Chris about his alibi. Watch the officer's left hand. It's up to his face constantly. If it's covering his mouth, he thinks Chris is lying. We cover our mouths when we don't like what's coming out of someone else's. Chris kept saying one thing over and over. I have no inclination of where they're at right now. I have no idea. If he were a pull-string doll, that's what he would say. Nicole found something else. Shanann's wedding ring, left behind. She looked at the officer in shock. She knew. The officer knew too. Chris's reaction to that news? Okay. He tried to brush it aside, downplay it, but the officer saw exactly what he was doing. Chris held the wedding ring on the tip of his pointer finger, far from his body. Presenting it on a stick, his body language screaming he doesn't want any part of what it represents. Then his lips sucked in, holding back a smile. The officer started asking real questions now. What days does she work? Does she report to someone? Was there a note by the ring? Any of her clothes missing? Did it look like she packed up? Last thing she said this morning was she's going to take the kids to a friend's house. I texted her today. Never heard anything. Car's here. Unless somebody came and picked her up. His eye contact wasn't natural. He was holding it to see if the officer was buying it. Overuse of hand gestures, shakiness in his voice, stuttering, pausing. And zero sign of shock, sadness, or fear. Then Chris smiled. What is there to smile about? Your pregnant wife and kids are missing. That's exactly what the officer was thinking. I've got my detective coming. The situation is just odd. Police don't want to scare a suspect into hiring a lawyer and shutting their mouth. They need to keep their top suspect optimistic about walking free, so he keeps talking. Nicole suggested checking the community pool. Hot August day. Logical place. Chris's response? I don't want to have to walk outside. It's hot out there. He's making excuses so he doesn't have to look for a family he knows he'll never find. They went to Nate's house to watch the security camera footage. Just 12 hours after the murders, Chris standing right beside the TV, about to watch himself cover up his crimes, with a police officer watching alongside him. Notice the nervous gulp as the officer confirms his interest in the footage. His face is getting shiny with sweat. Chris buried his head in his phone, likely texting his mistress to stay distracted. Notice how close he holds the phone to his body, very defensive. On screen, Chris's truck backing partway into the garage, creating cover for loading bodies. Chris looked completely away from the TV, all the way to the front door. We look away from things we don't like. He wanted to get out of there. Then a very deep breath, fight or flight, kicked in. Chris put his hands on top of his head. Marathon runners do this to open airways and calm their heart rate. Chris is doing it to hide how nervous he is. He started swaying back and forth, lips tightly pursed, withholding. His nervousness is so over the top, it's like he's slow dancing with himself. His sunglasses slid off his head, too much sweat, too little awareness. Chris showed zero interest in using the camera to find his family. He's not treating this as a search, he's treating this as his time to defend himself. Chris looked away from the screen completely, in defeat. He knew all the video evidence pointed to him. Then something came on Nate's TV in the background, a show about how babies are born. Chris seized on it. I just hope nothing happened to the baby. He says what he thinks he should say, based on what he's seen in movies. Not based on the empathy he feels, or could even imagine feeling. Chris started talking about a faulty garage door sensor, rambling, diverting. Liars do this. They talk in great detail about somewhat related things. It makes them seem open and honest, and it avoids the real issue. The real issue, how did they leave a locked house if the only exit has a camera on it? The officer thanked Nate. They walked back outside. Then Nate said something to the officer privately. That's not the Chris I know. Nate had been doing his own body language evaluation the whole time. That wasn't the always calm and easygoing Chris everyone knew. That's how Shanann and the kids left the house, in that truck. The officer didn't let on. Police can't risk anyone knowing they're onto him. If Chris feels they're after him, he'll lawyer up and shut his mouth. Then the chances of finding Shanann and the girls get much smaller. Police never say everyone knows you're guilty, just admit it. They come across as your friend. They empathize. They let you talk yourself into a corner. That's the most effective way to solve cases. Chris Watts showed zero interest in finding his wife and 2 little girls. He even came across as happy they were gone. Because that's what he wanted, a new life without a wife and kids. Within days, he confessed. He was sentenced to 5 consecutive life terms, no possibility of parole. Shanann was 15 weeks pregnant, Bella was 4, Celeste was 3. He loaded them into his truck at 2 a.m., and then he went to work.